Hello. So, at the time of recording, the US presidential elections have been taking place. Voting is being counted, and they're getting near the end of their conclusion. So let's see quite how that one works out. But they use the phrase "running for presidency." Isn't that a funny phrase? Running for presidency. You're running to be the president, but I don't see much running. I know it's just a term of phrase, isn't it? It's something that you're running for an office. You're trying to get to an office. I want you to grab that thought and take it with us as we look through some Bible stories and Bible passages about what it is to be running for something. I have come across a song. Hey, surprise, surprise. I know I always talk about songs and linking with songs, but the song with a group, a church group, I guess, TRIBL, TRIBL. You'll find them on YouTube. They sing this song, To You. It's called To You. It's a long song, and in the song they use words like, "I'm running to your throne, I'm coming back to you." And that's very much the theme of the chorus. I'm coming back to you, I'm coming back to you, I'm coming back to you. There's some other words though. "I won't be satisfied with temporary pleasures. I want to taste and see in full what I've only known in measures. I hear the song you're singing, crying out, 'Run, child, run! Father, I am returning. I'll stay where I belong.'" And then there's the repetition of, "Here I come running, running, and I won't look back. I won't look back." And then they change the words. "Here he comes running, running, and he won't look back. He won't look back." Partway through the song, one of the two main lead singers, Chandler Moore, he gives a little talky bit, and he gives some reference to a story. One of the three stories of something that was lost in Luke chapter 15. These are stories that Jesus told. We know the story about the Prodigal Son. Now, I'm not going to go through that whole story because I've done that in a previous talk. And if you look back on the YouTube channel here, look back for, I think, the Prodigal Father, and you'll find more about that. But there's a couple of things that I want to pick up on in that story that link with this whole idea of running. You see, as Chandler tells the story and picks out on a couple of points, he gives reference to how this prodigal son comes to his senses and thinks, well, I can go back to my father, but surely he won't have me back as a son, so I'll go back as a servant. And he comes back towards his home, his original home, having lost everything. And it says, while this son was still a long way off, the father gets up and runs to his son. And that's the link in the song. This idea, and while the story doesn't specifically say that the son was running back, certainly the father sees the son from a long way off, and he starts running and running. And he throws his arms around his son, and it's not like he says, "Welcome back, servant." No, he says, "Welcome back, son." And that's what he says to the other servants that are there. "Look, put some nice clothes on him, because my son has returned. My son was dead, but now he is alive." The father went running to his son. What a beautiful picture. When we go wandering off from God, And when we come to our senses, do we really picture that God is looking and waiting for us? And as soon as we start to return to him, he comes running to us. That's beautiful. That's the love of God. And he doesn't call us servant. He doesn't say, right, well, let's start you with you lower down. No, he accepts us back just as we are. And just as the son was coming back to where his home used to be, the father says, look, my son has come home. You see, home never changed. And just like the status of his father and son never changed, when we come back to God, God comes running to us, because our status has never changed and our home abode has never changed. Our proper place to be, home, has never changed. God is looking out for us, and he comes running to us the moment that we turn around, when we come to our senses and come back to him. From death to life is what the father said. That's the way he describes it to his servants. So what does death to life mean? There's a comparison. On the one hand this, on the one hand that. On the one hand he was dead, on the other hand he's alive now. What does that mean? Well, where has he been? What has he been doing? He's been going his own way, his own pursuits. And he's just going his own way and leaving his father behind. That seems to be then what he was dead. We are dead when we pursue our own ambitions or our own thoughts. But we are alive again when we come back home, when we come to our senses. And as we start to come back home, we have the Father, our Heavenly Father, running after us, pursuing us. Welcome back. Welcome back. This idea of God running to us, I think, is amazing. But let's just stick with that running theme then, as we look at Psalms, Psalm 119 and verse 32. Depending on the translation, you'll have different words. So my New Living Translation, Psalm 119 verse 32 says, I will pursue your commands. Have you ever seen those things on television where there's the police are pursuing some criminal, someone that's running away from them? It's not a casual meander, is it? It's an all-out pursuit. It's as fast as they can go. They want to not just keep up, but catch up. They pursue the criminal. Here it says, I will pursue your commands. There's some purpose about the pursuit, about the coming after, about the understanding of God's instructions. For you expand my understanding is the way that the New Living Translation finishes that verse. The King James Version uses a running word. It says, I will run the way of thy commands. I will run the way of thy commands. When you're running, there's purpose. It's not a kind of mediocre thing. There's a running, there's a pursuit of the purposes of God, God's instructions, God's commands. What a beautiful thing. I will come after God with purpose. I will come back to God with purpose. And as we come back to God, God comes out after us, running to us, ready to put his arms around us and clothe us in better clothes again. The idea of this running is not limited to the Old Testament or the New, but Paul picks up on running quite a number of times. But in Galatians 5 and verse 7, it says, "You are running the race so well." Just before that, he's been describing how the people have been doing well, but they've been kind of caught up with some bad teachings. And Paul is trying to put them straight on that. And then he uses this running word. You've been running so well. And then he gives some words afterwards of encouragement. Look, now that I put you straight, run the right way. Because it's possible that we start to run the wrong way. We start pursuing our own selfish thoughts again. Or we think, oh, maybe this is what it means. And we don't really inquire of God or the rest of Scripture as to what God's commands and instructions are. But also, in a more light-hearted reflection with the people in Philippi, and the people in Philippi, Paul really loved. And he says, Philippians chapter 2, verse 16, "Hold firmly to the word of life. Then on the day of Christ's return, I will be proud that I did not run the race in vain, and that my work was not useless." Running the race in vain. There's an idea then that in our running to God, our running with a purposeful pursuit after God, that we can run with others. Have you seen people jogging along together as they're getting some exercise, aren't they? But we can jog along, we can run after God with others, with encouragement to pursue God, to come on, how you can do it, let's keep going. This idea of running after God. But don't forget that God, as we come back to him, comes running after us. He meets us at least halfway, or more than halfway, in his running after us. I read in a book, the Dictionary of Biblical Imagery. I was looking into this whole idea of running, and it had been listing some of the ideas of running away from God. And then it gives this one-line quote: "If running thus implies a more than ordinary desire to get away from something threatening, it can also imply eagerness to achieve something positive, sometimes accompanied by obvious joy." Wow. Just like running away can be a negative thing, a running to God can be a positive thing, and with joy. With joy. There is this purpose, this positive pursuit of God. Not just casually, but with effort and enthusiasm. You see, of course, I can't give a talk with just one song reference. So here's another. A song, "No Longer Strangers," is available on YouTube. I'll probably put the link below. It's recorded by Vineyard Church. In fact, the recording, I think, is in the city of St Albans. And in this song, "No Longer Strangers," I think it's Dana Masters sings, "You're calling me, I'm coming home. We are no longer strangers in your arms." Further on she sings, "You're calling me, I'm coming home. Father, I'm coming home. Though I have wandered far, your love is reaching out. I'm running to your arms." Now, occasionally, odd individuals, it's a bit of the American dream, isn't it? That if you're American, you could run to be president. Well, not many people do. There's millions of Americans. But I want to leave you with these thoughts about running after God and God running after us. Why does God come running after us? As I've said before, it's because God is trying to keep us in, not catch us out. And with that in mind, let us think that it doesn't matter what you are running for. It matters who you are running to. Who are you running to? Stay safe. Stay saved.